Hello everyone, my name is Roy, and I'm going to talk about estimating the sex ratio of green sea turtle in Taiwan by the nest temperature and a histological method. First, introduction. The green sea turtle. The reason they got their name because they store the chlorophyll in their fat. Instead, they look green. They look brown like the picture. So don't misunderstand it. And the green sea turtle are the most common and the only sea turtle nest in Taiwan. Adults can over 100 kilograms, but their staple food is seagrass. They are vegetarian. That's why most of their activities are near the coast. And talk about the gender of a sea turtle. It's not DNA determine their sex, but the temperature when they were born. For example, if they're born in a cold midnight, then means all of them will be male. This phenomenon called temperature sex determination. And for identify their gender, it's easy for the adult one because male have the strong and large tail like this. But for the females, they didn't have that. They just have a short and tiny tail like this. But for the juvenile, we cannot use this way because none of them have the tail. They haven't showed it yet. So there are two ways to know their gender. The first is direct, the laparoscopic observation of sex organ, which means put a tube inside their body and check the gonad, or by the radioimmunoassay of the testosterone, which means takes their blood, and we can know that their gender. And the other way is indirect way. We measure the sand temperature, and we can estimate how many of them will be male and female. For example, that if the sand is 30 Celsius degree, then maybe 80% of them are female. So why should we do this? Why do we do the study? Because the green sea turtle is endangered animal. If we don't care about them, we will never see them in the future again. So the sex ratio is an important population characteristic. We need to do something to protect them from extinction. So here's the purpose I want. Investigate the sex ratio of green sea turtle in Taiwan. Check if the hatchlings sex ratio of green turtles in Taiwan is female biased, and compare the difference of green sea turtle and nest in Taiwan. Now the material and methods. I choose 3 sites. The first is Wang in Penghu, and second is Xiaoliuqiu. The third is Lanyu. These 3 sites. The method is the histology of the dead baby and the nest temperatures. Of course, I cannot call the live one or adult one and cut it and kill it. So we choose the dead body. And the nest temperature also control their gender, so it's need to study that. So we got the samples, and we will put in series of treatment. And we will check the gonad, we will stand in, put it under the microscope, and we can identify their gender. And the nest temperature is that when the female laying their egg, they done the camouflage by the sand, we will put a logger inside the nest, and we will measure the temperature inside it. Every 30 minutes, we will get a lot of data. And that's it. There's a simple method. Here's the result. The males have this called seminiferous cord. This is to make the sperm. So only male have this kind of transparent part, and the inside here this is a sperm part. The female didn't have this kind of structure, so we can identify that under the microscope. And here is the this study continued for 2 years. We studied the 250 hatchlings. Sorry for using that table. Above the line is Lanyu. This seems to more average for the percentage for the female. But for Wang, almost all of them are female. There are six next are 100% females. And the minimum have the 50% of them. In the 2011, there are Lanyu, Xiaoliuqiu, and Wang. And the minimum is the 85% of them are female. Almost all of them are girl. So this is the chart I made. You can see that this is Lanyu, this is Wan'an, and this is Xiaoliuqiu. The higher the blue chart means that more the females they have. This is 68%, and this is 93%. This is 100%. Overall, there are 84% of them are female. There's only 16% are male. This is unbalanced extremely. And this is the sand temperature. And we don't do that in 2010 in Wan'an, so we just estimate the sand temperature by the special equation. It will end up like this. Lanyu has the lowest temperature inside the nest, and Xiaoliuqiu has the hottest temperature. So, the conclusion and discussion. The histology of the baby garnet. We use formalin to contain the garnet so we can transport them back to the laboratory. We cannot just cut them beside the nest or on the beaches. But formalin take more time to soak into the garnet. Maybe we need to use the alcohol or something else instead of formalin. And the sex ratio of green sea turtle. I need to exclude the Xiaoliuqiu first because there's only 2 nests. The data there is 2 less. So we just need to focus on Wan'an and Lanyu. Wan'an sex ratios were more female biased than Lanyu. And here's the reason I think. Wan'an has the drier and hotter weather during the nest season. You know that I just mentioned, hot the temperature and the more the percentage of the female. And although Lanyu's beaches have the darker sand than Wan'an, they have the black sand. They can absorb more solar radiation. But the hilly terrain and the mountain in Lanyu will cause the underground water past the nest beaches. So that will cool the temperature of beaches like this. The terrain will make the underground water didn't have the time to soak into the soil. So it will run through the nest. It will run through the nest beach and go to the sea directly. So it will close to the surface. It can cooling down the temperature inside the nest. So that may explain why more male hatchlings were produced on the Lanyu. Air temperature and indirect participation are 2 dominant factors determine the sex ratio of green sea turtles. And this is the relationship between the mean temperature and the percentage of the female. Most of them tell that 29 Celsius degree are the pivotal temperature, which means that 50% will be male and 50% will be female in 29 Celsius degree. But I think this cannot just be a line, maybe a range. 29, maybe, I think they can arrange over there, not instead of a line. And there are other theses says that due to the global warming that the male adult sea turtles are sexed more often. So maybe they produce more female because they need more balance in the sex ratio, but I don't buy it. So, global warming and climate change are the major hazard to the sea turtles. Possibly protection from their nest. Maybe we can put an umbrella near the nest so we can cooling down the temperature to make more male, or sprinkling, maybe put some waters, and maybe on the surface of the nest, maybe hope to cooling down the inside temperature so we can produce more and more males instead just females. They will lead to the functional distinction, which means all of them are females or all of them are males. So after all, the investigation sex ratio of sea turtle in Taiwan, checked. Check if the hatchling sex ratio of green sea turtle in Taiwan is female biased, checked. Compare the difference of the green sea turtle and nest in Taiwan, checked. Hope that this will lead to you guys some more thinking about that. Thank you.
Hi, I see. My name is Chewy. I see that there are a lot of tables, but and there are two methods that you introduced. One is taking from the dead babies, right? And
Yes,
the other,
baby.
the other method is by the sand temperature. So I wonder, like, from these tables, actually, which methods do you get it from? Is it from the sand temperature or from the dead babies?
We cut the dead babies to identify their gender, right? So I get the data from the
Dead babies.
baby and the nest temperature. When the female laying their egg, after they camouflage in their nest, we put a logger inside it. So we can measure the temperature inside it by the logger.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I want to ask, is there other factors that except the temperature that would affect the sex ratio of the turtles?
I know that temperature are the only factor that will determine their sex. Because their DNA will not influence their sex at all. When they break out the shell, the temperature is too hot or too cold will make them all of them a male or female, unless the temperature is about 29 Celsius degree. So I think the temperature are the only factor that will influence their sex.
Okay, thank you.
I want to ask what temperature will make the sex of turtles, female is 50% and male is 50%.
This is the picture that shows that there's a line above the 29 Celsius degree. This is most of the scientists and biologists think that 29 Celsius degrees are the 50% male and 50% female. They are 29 Celsius degree.
Thank you.
I want to ask, do you mention the sand type of Lanyu and the Xiaoliuqiu? Does it will let the eggs more hot or less hot?
So whether you are talking about the Xiaoliuqiu and Lanyu's
Sand type.
the sand type. Okay.
Yes.
The sand type are the result, not the study, not the research one. We will estimate that why cause that there's many males in Lanyu. It's because they have the underground water. And Wanan's sands are more white. Maybe it cannot absorb so many solar radiation. But Lanyu can because it has the black sand there. But they produce more male. That's strange. So we will check the indirect condition. So we know that it's underground water makes them have the more male. It's a result, not because I study the sand there.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I want to ask did this paper mention that's why Xiaoliuqiu the sample are so few? Yes.
It didn't mention in the paper, but I can know that because Xiaoliuqiu has tourism. The tourism has so many that none of them want to live there. It will not be a safe place to live, but Lanyu has less people and Wannan has some protection area there. So they will make them have more nests there. Xiaoliuqiu didn't have it only on Duzaiping or somewhere else there. So the nest will be less than the other two sites.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think this is also a very nice talk. I think the story is quite straightforward and easy to follow. And the introduction part was also well made. So you see this kind of animation to help you understand. And the most noteworthy part of his talk was he was presented really energetically and fluently, but maybe a little bit too fast. Maybe slow down a little bit, but it's quite energetic, so which is really nice. And okay, I have heard turtle talks every year, so I know all the terms you mentioned. However, probably not the audience here, okay? Because maybe some of them never take biology course, I don't know. So maybe it would be great to briefly explain some terms such as simple as hatchling, okay? Because this could be something that's really new to people, students who don't take biology, marine biology course. So that's something that can be considered. And this is okay. And then the purpose slide is also nice. And okay, so I think this, so if I want to enhance the visual effect, usually the best way to enhance the visual effect is to make the image really large. Really, really large, okay? And then, so then you see that you have focus on this feature, so maybe you can just simply put your keywords next to the feature, because you have to consider people sitting at the back row, so all the sentences at the bottom, the keywords at the bottom are not easy to read, so you can simply put it next to the feature that you are talking about. And then, it's nice that you made your own table, and then I know you noticed the problem here. But you also made your own scientific figure, which is highly encouraged, but still in my standard, the font here is still too small. You can make it larger, okay? Even larger, okay? And from time to time, I can remember where you use phrases like it's, I-T-S, it's, or don't, D-O-N-T. So usually these kind of phrases should be avoided in formal presentation. You should write it is or do not. So in formal presentation, you shouldn't use don't or it's, okay, including written language. And here in 26, you have I think this is not what you mean, right? Indifferent, okay? Because indifferent is another term, okay? And then later, because in this paper you have two sets of data, you have temperature data and you have the hatchlings gender data. And later in your discussion, you try to combine them both, right? However, please do not expect the audience to remember what you said. Actually, they will simply forget your previous slide. That's what you should keep in mind. Therefore, when you want to say somewhere is drier and hotter, so if I were you, I would probably instead, in addition to the sun, I would just print the temperature here. Okay, that would be easier for us to follow, okay, what do you mean by hotter? Okay, how high the temperature is. And then regarding the conclusions, I appreciate that you reuse the purpose, but please change this to conclusions. And then instead of check, I would even more appreciate that you provide some keywords regarding the main finding, not just check, okay?
Okay.
But otherwise, it's a very fluent and nice talk, so let's thank Roy.